Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, Anchor. First of all, good evening, all of you over here. On the behalf of our chairperson, BVD Educational Group, Srimati Alka Das, and President, BVD Educational Group, Sri Virasagar Das ji, Director, BVD ITM, Dr. S.S. Chauhan sir, HOD, DI, Program Convener, Dr. Khadi Moin Siddiqui, Program Coordinator, Professor Kanika Lamba, Faculty, IEEE Executive Committee members, past Chair Srikant Singh, Chair Sri Khanna, Vice Chair Abdullah, and the faculty members and students. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you in this IEEE Boot Camp under SAC Membership Development and Leadership Training 2021. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our today's speaker, Honorable Dr. Ashish Kumar Kanojia ji, who is from SGPGI Lucknow. My sincere thanks to Director BVD ITM Professor S.S. Chauhan for his guidance and motivation. Again, especially, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our eminent speaker, Dr. Ashish Kumar Kanojia ji, for accepting our invitation gladly, for making the event successful. We are indeed grateful for your gracious presence. I am so happy to see you together here. I hope the program will be greatly successful. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to the anchor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your enlightened words would always enshrine in our minds and will guide us for future. Moving ahead, I would like to start our expert talk. For this, I would like to invite Dr. Ashish Kumar Kanojia. But first, let us dwell into the achievements of Sir. Sir is affiliated to the Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow. He is currently providing services as additional professor. Dr. Ashish K. Kanwajia has been invited in Rashtrapati Bhavan to demonstrate video laryngoscope. He has published 42 publications in various national and international journals, edited one book, and filed 15 patents. Because of the active association with different societies and academics, as well as the contributions, Dr. Ashish Sir has presented many conferences at national and state level. Sir has been felicitated by Honorable Vice Chair KGMU for innovation. Dr. Ashish Sir's contributions are appreciated by various reputed awards, such as News Rating Award by Honorable Governor Uttar Pradesh, got second prize in ISACON 2019 in Innovation Award. The area of interest of Sir includes innovation and medical technology, point of devices and telemedicine, airway management, and daycare anesthesia. Now, with great pleasure, I would like to call Dr. Ashish Kumar Kanojia. Sir, over to you.
Thank you so much. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes. So, very good evening to all of you. And I would like to congratulate for organizing such event at this point of time. And I would also like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to interact and share some of uh, points related to COVID-19. So for last 1.5 or so, uh, we are dealing COVID-19 with such a difficulty. There are a lot of restrictions, and it has changed our way of living. So it has affected all the aspects of life, be it day-to-day activities, school, colleges, professional colleges, occupation, gatherings, socialization. So it has affected all aspects of life. So today I would be talking about some of the myths which are existing in the society. So before starting taking up myths, let's see what are the main factors which can help you to decide to be safe. So there are basically three factors which will govern your safety if you follow them. So first is location. If you are in open space, you are safer, and as we proceed to the closed space, our safety goes. And second thing is proximity. So at least 1 meter distance should be kept between the two persons, and as we are closer, we are more prone for infection. So farther away from others, safer than close together. The third thing is time of exposure. So best thing is, if there is no exposure, then there are no chances of infection. But it is not possible because we don't know who is harboring the virus, who is carrying the virus, and we can get infected easily. So it is not possible to avoid totally exposure. However, it can be limited. So if we can limit the periods of exposure outside, um, working, like going for market for purchasing something, or going for banks or something like that. So if we can keep it within 15 to 20 minutes, then it's safe. If it exceeds more than 20 minutes, along with other things like in closed space, uh, gathering of lot of people are not following respiratory hygiene, that is not wearing mask, not following hand hygiene, then there are chances of infection. So this is the main gist, how we can be safe, how we can keep others safe. So many people get panic once they get symptoms like cough, fever, and difficulty in breathing. So one should not get panic, should uh, contact the nearest health facility, maybe telephonically first, and then if suggest, if instructed, then he or she can go for testing of COVID, because early detection prevents lot of complications and also protects others from getting infected. So if someone has got infected, most of the time, most of the people will get only mild or moderate symptoms, and they can be treated at home, and help from health facility telephonically can be taken up. So most of the people who get infected with the COVID-19 recover from it. So there is no need to panic, but one should be alert and should get medical help as soon as possible. Second thing is that people thought that if we are wearing mask for prolonged period, there may be lack of oxygen, or there may be retention of carbon dioxide. But it has been proven in various studies that if medical grade masks are worn properly, it doesn't causes carbon dioxide intoxication or oxygen deficiency. So one must wear the mask while going outside, especially for some crowded places, and also encourage others to wear the same. Then some people are worried whether shoes can be uh, can play a role in spread of COVID-19 infection. Though it's not confirmed, but it's better to take off shoes, especially in the houses where small kids are there, because the dust which is being carried with the shoes, it will fall on the floor, and small kids maybe during crawling they get that dust, and that dust may be harboring the virus. So it is a good practice to take off shoes outside the house, especially during these pandemic. So then many people are worried whether they should wear mask during exercise or they should not wear mask during exercise. So ideal thing is people should do exercise in the open spaces, and then there is no need to wear mask, but physical distancing must be kept, and other measures, COVID appropriate behavior must be watched. Because if we wear mask during exercise, there is a lot of sweating which makes breathing difficult, and also moisture supports growth of microorganisms including bacteria and fungus, which may create problem in terms of black fungus or something like that. So exercise should be done in the open space, then there is no need of wearing mask, along with the COVID appropriate behavior. Then there are a lot of queries related to use of alcohol based sanitizers. So regarding this, WHO has declared alcohol based hand sanitizer as an essential medicine, so it should be used uh, whenever required. There is nothing to worry about its use. Its sanitizers are safe for everyone to use and should be used when it is considered that your hand has got infected, or if possible, you can use soap and water also. So it can be used as frequently as required. There is nothing to worry about this. And there are some persons who are worried about that there are alcohol sanitizer bottles which are kept at the public places. So uh, while using it, uh, may I get infection from the bottle? So since one is using alcohol sanitizer after the pressing plunger, then even if there are any organisms, they will be killed. So if everyone is following that, if everyone is using hand sanitizer, then ultimately it will benefit whole of the society. So there is nothing to worry about the use of community based alcohol based sanitizers. So even in public places, we can use sanitizer. It will uh, decrease the chances of infection in the community. So it should be promoted. Then there are questions how much sanitizer we should use. It should be used in enough quantity that is sufficient to cover whole of the hands, and it should be used for at least 20 to 30 seconds. So that is a crucial. So if you are using few drops and you are not allowing it proper contact time, that is minimum 20 to 30 seconds, then it will be of not much use. So use sufficient amount to wet your hands, and then it should be kept for 20 to 30 seconds. And then some persons ask whether it is better to use gloves or to use sanitizers. So, wearing gloves for specific purposes like for healthcare facilities is okay, but for general use, wearing gloves is not encouraged, as it will harbor bacteria since you will be using it for prolonged time. So, more and more microorganisms and bacteria will be collected on the gloves, and they will act as a source of infection. So rather than wearing for gloves for general purpose, it is better to use more frequent hand washing and use of alcohol based sanitizer. So some people think that new coronavirus will affect the kids, or new coronavirus will affect the elderly people, but there is nothing like that. Every age group is susceptible, so care must be taken. But people who are having respiratory diseases like asthma, diabetes, or patient with the cardiac diseases, they are more prone for infection with the virus. So all age groups are prone for infection. No one is immune for infection. So one should take precaution in all age groups. Then some person think that antibiotics can be used for preventive purposes or for treating the new coronavirus. The fact is that coronavirus, as name itself includes virus, so antibiotics are basically for bacteria, so it will not help to in prevention or for the treatment of coronavirus, except in the cases of severe COVID who are admitted in hospitals. Their antibiotics are used to prevent bacterial infection. So in general, antibiotics are not effective and should not be used in home care patients. These are reserved only for the sick patients who are admitted in hospital and ICUs. Then some people think that if we take steam, if we take hot gargle, or if we use saline for rinsing our nose, it will prevent the infection. But the fact is that if someone is having cold or someone is having COVID, then these measures will help in symptomatic relief, but it doesn't have any role in prevention or treatment. Then taking hot bath doesn't prevent the new COVID disease, as we are warm blooded. So our body has regulatory mechanism which keeps our body temperature almost uh, constant in the range of 36 to 37 degrees centigrade. So even if we are taking uh, bath with the hot water, ultimately the body temperature will be in the same range only. Even with, if we are using very hot water, it may cause burn as well. So taking hot bath doesn't prevent the COVID. Then some people thought when last year it started, some people thought that COVID will be vanished in winters, it will be vanished during summers, but there is nothing like that. So whether it's a cold weather or it's a hot weather, it cannot kill the coronavirus, and it has been proven in last 1.5 year. So it is not affected by the weather. So exposing yourself to sunlight or temperature higher than 25 degrees again doesn't prevent or provide cure from COVID-19. Rather, to protect yourself, follow the hand hygiene, clean your hands frequently, thoroughly, and avoid touching your eyes, mouth, and nose. Then ultraviolet lamps are used to sanitize the non-living things, but it should not be used for sanitization of hands or other areas of skin, because it may cause damage to the eyes and skin. So this should not be used. Then some people think that using pepper or black pepper to the soup or kada will prevent or cure COVID-19, but there is no such studies. Then some people thought that if alcohol-based sanitizers can help in spread of infection and sanitization of hands, drinking alcohol should also protect. But this is totally myth. It does not help in prevention or treatment, rather it's harmful. Then some people think that eating garlic can prevent infection, but again, it's a myth. It doesn't protect from COVID-19. Some people say that we are doing yoga, we are doing breathing exercises, and I am able to hold the breath for 30 seconds or so. But if someone is having symptoms like fever, dry cough, or tiredness, so even if he is able to hold the breath for 10 seconds or more, he must undergo testing for COVID after consultation with the medical staff, because holding breath for a prolonged period doesn't mean that anybody is free from COVID-19. Uh, in the last few months, there were certain hoax related to that COVID is spread through 5G mobile network, but it's totally myth. Viruses cannot travel on radio waves or mobile networks, and it has spread in many countries where there is no 5G networks. So it's a totally myth. Then many people say that they have undergone COVID testing, and when you ask how it was done, they said it was a small gun-like thing, and then it was focused on the forehead, and they said, "Okay, you don't have COVID," but it's not true. Thermal scanners are basically for detection of high temperature. So there are various causes of fever or high temperature. So they can detect uh, fever, but they cannot detect whether this fever is due to COVID or something else. So for confirmation, we have to go for RT-PCR testing. So then some people think that vitamin and mineral supplement can cure the COVID-19. Though micronutrients such as vitamin D, C, and zinc are critical for functioning of immune system and play a vital role in promoting health and nutritional well-being, but there is no evidence that these things can treat the COVID. Then initially last year there were uh, a lot of inquiries, a lot of studies done related to role of hydroxychloroquine. So ultimately it has been proven that hydroxychloroquine has no role in prevention or treatment of COVID-19, and one should not take it because it has got certain cardiac side effects. So one should be alert and shouldn't use it by himself without consultation. Then corticosteroids is again a drug which is very useful, and its role has been proven, but its role is only in serious patients who are hospitalized, who are on oxygen therapy. It has no role in mild or moderate disease patients who are on home care. So it should not be used in home care patients and without consulting a doctor, because it has various side effects like high sugars, high blood pressures, and black fungus infection as well. So finally, vaccines are the ultimate goal. So all approved COVID-19 vaccines have been thoroughly tested and all provide high degree of protection against getting seriously ill or need of hospitalization. So it is very important to be vaccinated as soon as possible, and this will help to build up community faster and can get back to our normal lives. So whenever it's your turn, take your vaccine. This is very essential. And even if we are vaccinated, we should follow the social distancing at least 1 meter apart, and we should follow COVID appropriate behavior, respiratory hygiene. We should wear mask whenever we go outside, should wash hands frequently or use alcohol based sanitizers, use well ventilated rooms, and follow the guidance as given by the local authorities. So with this, I finish this talk. Just stay healthy and safe, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir, for conveying such valuable information. Now it's time to grab the opportunity and clarify all the queries as we are proceeding with the question answer session. The audience are welcome to put forward their queries. You can simply unmute yourself or you can share your queries in the chat box of the meeting.
Yeah, Kriti, there is one question from my side. Can I question, sir?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Hello. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Ashish, there is one question from my side. What is the possibility of the third wave?
Ma'am, as data is evolving in most of the places, whether it's Kerala or Maharashtra, there are cases coming in third wave. So how much cases will come in third wave, that will depend on the percentage of vaccination. Usually if we get 2/3 population vaccinated, then the chances of the number of cases will certainly decrease. But at present we can't conclude how much the third wave will behave, but certainly the cases will come in third wave. There is no doubt about it. How much cases will come, that will depend on the percentage of population being vaccinated, the COVID appropriate behavior which we are following, and the other restrictions which were imposed few months back, like opening the market and other places. So
Sir,
third
is
wave,
there any possible time till what time it will hit?
probable time is October end to first week of November for our region,
What you are talking about UP region.
UP.
Okay, okay, fine.
So there are
Okay, thank
different
you so much. Mhm,
different mathematical models
mhm.
by which they analyze the data and predict. So
Sir,
it's
but many of the mathematical models fail in
def-
determining the situation of the COVID.
definitely because the virus doesn't know math.
Yeah.
So it's just prediction.
Then what about the vaccination of the young ones?
Presently in India, there are few centers where clinical trials are underway. So most probably by the end of the September, results will be out and it will be started depending on uh, how the results are. So I think by November or December, it should be started for younger ones also below 18.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, doctor.
Good evening,
I
ma'am.
just would like to know one thing, that with respect to this particular virus and the way first wave and the second wave has been
Pardon, I couldn't hear. Can you repeat, please?
yeah, I said the way first wave and second wave have been different from each other,
Yeah,
and all that chaos that has been caused during the second wave,
yeah,
and the very many people we have lost
yeah,
during the second wave.
yeah,
Now, for all those people who have received two vaccines,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Now, as per the medical science, what would be the prediction of the people who have received two vaccines, and the predicted third wave as per the various models, if is supposed to be somewhere around October and November, then the isn't aren't the medical practitioners like you from PGI, etc., are advising the chief minister not to go ahead with the offline classes and all that, which holds a major risk.
Actually, with the people who uh, get vaccine two doses, so after around 3 to 5 weeks after the second dose, uh, the adequate antibodies and the cellular immunity is formed. So the chances of getting serious disease is substantially reduced. It's reduced up to 80 to 90%. So regarding the first part, I think I am clear. And regarding the second part, whether the chief minister has been advised or not, there are certain people in the advisory group who must have advised, I think, but I am not aware. I am not having any official information regarding that.
Right, because basically during the second wave, during the
because
second wave,
now because
in
now
spite
the administration has gone into election mode, so I hope so.
uh, anyway, the second wave had a lot of bad effects.
Yeah.
Uh, so as per the research and analysis, uh, what would the pattern of the third wave could be predicted as?
Actually, in the second wave, it was in our area, it was mostly due to delta variant of the COVID. So, which is more infective? It was 10 times more infective than the first wave, and now the mortality and how much it will affect our society, that will depend on the variant. So if it's a delta variant itself, then it should not be as severe as second wave. But if still there is some variant like delta plus variant has been detected in some of the places, which is even more infectious than delta, then things may go haywire. So it will
Are we
depend, it will depend which variant predominantly it is. It's not necessary that only one variant is there, but it will depend which predominant variant is there.
agreed that there is no prediction of how the pattern or which variant will be active at that point of time?
Yeah,
Are we adequately prepared? Like we were not at all prepared during the second wave. It was pathetic. It was literally pathetic.
it was, no doubt about it.
Yes, because personally speaking, even I got infected. My son carried it from his college to home, and then it was worse than anything. And it was so sad to the state that the cities were not adequately equipped. There was so much of black marketing of drugs and uh, and the basic amenities which a human being requires.
Definitely, there is no doubt about it.
And even the tests were not being done.
Actually, we were not prepared for such things, starting from infrastructure to medicine, ambulances, everything. Even
I mean,
tracking, which was being done at first, it was not done in the second wave as efficiently. So there were various lacunas which ultimately resulted in such bad disease and bad impact on the society.
yes, and I mean, I personally feel that whoever was saved was the God's will.
Exactly.
Nothing to do with the apt medical facilities or anything of that kind. वो it was just like भाग्य है तो बच गए नहीं तो
Exactly.
चले गए. It was like that, as bad as that.
It was bad, really bad.
So anyway, are we adequately prepared for the third wave?
I don't think so. Because
Thank you.
infrastructure is same now.
Yes.
It's not it's the same.
No, and exactly. What is the role of favipiravir and all those which were abundantly made?
Favipiravir, actually, favipiravir is an antiviral drug. So antiviral drug has a role when virus is still replicating. But once the viral load has reached to a certain threshold, then it has already showing its impact. So even if we are taking favipiravir after 5 to 7 days, it will not help. So if we take it in the first 7 days or preferably 5 days, then it will reduce days of symptoms. So that is the rule, but that is effective only in mild and moderate cases. And anyway, mild moderate cases, most of the people with good immunity, with uh, not having any diabetes or heart disease or respiratory disease, most of the people will recover by own. So
Uh,
still, it's doubtful.
okay, so what? And the steroids which were given by medical practitioners in abundance, like Madrid and all those steroidal
So
formulations.
as I have mentioned in one of my slide, that steroids are reserved for only severe disease patients who need oxygen, and it should be given in hospital only. Otherwise, it will lead to high blood sugar, it will lead to high blood pressure, and high blood sugar will lead to ultimately mucormycosis. So presently, what we are dealing with, we are having a lot of patient with mucormycosis. Some patient is having one eye removed, some patient is having jaw removed. So these are the impact of uncontrolled use of steroids. Even on counter steroids people have used. So that led to such dreaded infection. So black fungus is more dreaded
Yes,
than virus. It has
right,
got more than 50% mortality.
right, doctor. I mean, to tell you, if a doctor is advising the same, and when once you are literally scared of being on the deathbed, I mean, a patient is bound to take all those drugs for a very, very long time. Like for my daughter was recommended, and in a very, very high dose, she was taking literally, I think it was 48 micrograms or something, mgs a day or so. There were so many, and then for about 15 to 18 days she had to take, and now she's suffering from so many post-COVID problems at the age of 22. I mean, she's having all kind of bone-related issues. She's having kidney-related
Yeah,
issues. Now, then what?
steroid is a very good drug, but if
Yes,
it's given in when it is indicated in a proper dose for proper time with proper monitoring, so that is very essential.
no. So now the issue is that if the medical fraternity was so irresponsible towards drug advisory, then is there any kind of a law of a rule that is being practiced against them? Because they advised it in abundance, and the patient took it because they were so scared of death.
I know it should be used judiciously. Even Ministry of Family and Health Welfare has issued their guidelines. So ideally, during COVID management, since COVID is a new disease, so no one was experienced with this. So there was an expert group which has given their guidelines. So during treatment, every clinician is supposed to follow those guidelines. So like in our hospital, we follow those guidelines. So
Well, not to say anything anyway, because basically I have gone through a very, very traumatic state during that phase in the month of April, and my children are still succumbing to the bad effects of all the drugs that were prescribed in plenty and which had to be procured in black from the market, unfortunately.
yeah.
So that is why I have all my grudges against medical fraternity for how and ruthlessly the human life was dealt. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, there is a question in the chat box by Mr.
Yes.
Vishesh Kumar.
Yes.
He's asking that can we kill the coronavirus by sanitization, and he continues with it. How we can decide that which vaccine is more suitable, either Covaxin or Covishield?
In one of the slide, I have shown that whichever vaccine has been approved for COVID-19 has been extensively researched and trialed. So it is immaterial which vaccine you use. You can use either, whichever is available. Most important thing is whenever it's whenever you get chance, one should get vaccinated. It doesn't matter whether it's Covaxin or Covishield.
Okay,
Both
sir.
are
Thank you, sir.
both are effective.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Is there any more questions?
Anchor, now you can
Okay.
proceed further. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. We hope that you all are well equipped, comfortable, and confident about the awareness related to COVID-19. Now, I would like to invite IEEE BBD ITM WIE Affinity Group Advisor, Professor Kanika Lamba ma'am, to deliver her words as a vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone. I deem it's a great honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's occasion a resounding session. First and foremost, I thank our management, Mrs. Alka Das, Honorable Chairperson, Mr. Virat Sagar Das, President BBD Group, for giving us the platform to organize such events. I thank our speaker, Dr. Ashish Kumar Kanodia, who despite of his busy schedule, has found time to grace this occasion by giving such resourceful knowledge about COVID-19, which is a most important topic in today's scenarios. I'm sure this lecture will help our listeners for fighting against the third wave. Thank you so much, sir. I thank our well-wisher, our director, Sir Professor Dr. S.S. Chauhan, for his support, vision, and commitment. I thank our branch counselor, HOD, EE, and EN department, Professor Rafiq Ahmed, for his valuable contribution, guidance, and encouragement in all our efforts. I owe special gratitude to our branch counselor, BBD ITM, Professor Dr. Khadim Moin Siddiqui. His able guidance has always encouraged us. I thank him for his kindness, his interest, his hospitality, and continued support. I thank our IEEE branch, our student branch chair, Shrey Khanna, Vice Chair Abdullah Ahmed, our anchors for the day, Aviral and Akriti, our technical support team working behind. List is so big. Events like this do not happen overnight. It requires combined effort of many and their sleepless nights. A big thanks to the whole team. It's all because of your support we stand here today. Thank you so much, team. I thank all the distinguished invitees present here for accepting our invitation. I thank all the student volunteers. Last but not the least, I thank you all for your cooperation in making this event a resounding success. Once again, I thank all you for your kind attention. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Over to you, Aviral.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Before ending this evening, IEEE BBD ITM has got a small token of appreciation for our today's speaker. So now I request our advisor, Dr. Khadim Moin Siddiqui sir, to present a token of gratitude to Dr. Ashish Kumar Kanodia sir.
Aviral, just unmute Khadim sir.
Okay, ma'am. I think Khadim sir got some technical issue and he got disconnected.
Yes, he is not disconnected. I am here.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much, Aviral, for inviting me. So it is a great honor for me for presenting this memento to our honorable speaker, Dr. Ashish Kanodia. So, sir, it is in the virtual mode. That's why we are presenting you this memento in the virtually. Shortly, we will send you this memento in your address. So, thank you so much again. Honorable Speaker, Dr. Ashish Kanodia, for accepting our invitation gladly and sharing your thoughts on COVID-19. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Anchor, now it is over to you.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all people.
Thank you so much, sir, again.
Thank you.
Dear participants, feedback form is flashing in the chat box of the meeting. It is mandatory for all to fill it. Stay connected with us as BBD ITM has its upcoming event on 18th August, which would be an expert talk on molding ideas into rewarding business models. It is a kind request to all to show their keen interest as of today. Last but not the least, with a great pleasure, I would like to call advisor IEEE BBD ITM, Dr. Khadim Moin Siddiqui sir, to declare that the event has been officially closed.
Thank you, Viral, again inviting me. So, by taking the permission from our honorable speakers, Dr. Ashish Kanodia, I am declaring this program closed. Now, all the participants can leave